To Salam Media.
Okay, with about 5 minutes to wrap up time, we are crossing over to the UK. Claire Bidwell is our guest. She's a primary school teacher. She's also a human rights activist and co-founder of the Let Kashmir Decide. Morning, Claire. Welcome to the program. Nice to have you on once again.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here and speak to you again.
Right. Now, an Indian army spokesman has said that suspected rebels have shot dead 5 soldiers in Indian-administered Kashmir in the deadliest incident since February. That does then suggest that we're going to have a lot of unrest in that area going forward, because there's obviously going to be a tit-for-tat retaliation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's a lot of stories coming out again at the moment about things that are going on. But I think what is very difficult to ascertain is what actually, is the truth, and then what's behind that story. Because there's a lot of tactics that are being used to vilify the Kashmiris, as it were, when we know that they're under illegal occupation and fighting for their own territory, which gives them certain rights under the United Nations itself. And also, I think we've seen over 1,000 young people have been arrested since the kills of the civilians recently. So we're seeing a lot of arrests, a lot of unrest, and a lot of, a lot of in-house arrests, political prisoners again, more so than we were seeing at the time of 2019. We've got a lot of concern at the moment going on in there.
Sadly, we also hear that 7 civilians were shot dead in 6 days last week, including 2 teachers on Thursday, sparking public outrage in Kashmir and, of course, across the country. And obviously, politicians from all sides have condemned the killings, but even that condemnation is not going to stop the killings, is it?
No, sadly. And, I'm referring to what I just said there recently with the soldiers, and we're probably seeing that on the back of this, where they've swept in behind these killings, looking so quickly, going in, arresting the youth, not necessarily asking the questions, and no judicial, service as to who's done this. The behaviour itself, people are suggesting is looking very suspicious as to whether government operatives weren't actually behind the killings as well. And so we're throwing up, again, this lot of anger and angst. I think what frustrates me in it all, and many people in it all, is whilst we might not agree with some of the strategies of the guerrilla warfare as it was, or standing against that, we are seeing a situation where they are under illegal occupation. They are under a lot of mental trauma. And so we're seeing people trying, anything to, justify their case for freedom. And I think really that this whole thing is going on because of the illegal occupation. And it's going to get worse. And as we're seeing, so you're right, within the area now, there's going to be a lot of unrest.
Well, we also understand that the region has been subject to a legislative blitz since August 2019, with tensions soaring after New Delhi scrapped Kashmir's semi-autonomy, applying new laws and cancelling others. So obviously, this has enraged the Kashmiris, has it not?
Sorry, can you repeat that last line for me?
The scrapping of Kashmir's semi-autonomy and the New Delhi applying new laws and cancelling other laws on the Kashmiri people, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it's so sad because, given that they went in there claiming that there are militants, we know the last estimates, the numbers of militants are something like 150. Even if more had been recruited since then, how does that justify having nearly 1 million troops in there? And their promise and their story that it was to bring stability to the area is just, we're not seeing that. Just that's not that evidence there. So, these Kashmiris are under this, they're deserving their freedom, they're deserving their right. None of this should be happening. So we're seeing complete, like colonialism, complete control. And I think still the evidence there to suggest there's genocide going on. And, it's very sad. And I can't see any, we've always said this area, but no evidence of any stability in the area, just complete occupation. And Kashmiris are losing their lives for it. And as we're saying, even the soldiers and everybody as part of this, they're all victims of this situation. I know ourselves, through the United Nations, we're working for the self-determination for Kashmiris as a democratic and just and human right experience for this. And that's for that's democracy. And even for Indians themselves that are finding themselves any civilians that are finding themselves on the wrong side of all this unrest and human abuse, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, and you used the word colonialism. Unfortunately, the Kashmir region in its entirety is claimed by both India and Pakistan, who have administered parts of it since their independence in 1947. So it's the colonial masters way back when they were dividing India and Pakistan, carving it up, that created the problems way back, and it still has not been resolved. So let's hope and pray common sense prevails. Let's hope the United Nations and human rights activists like you and co-founder of the Let Kashmir Decide, just support the Kashmiris to get their independence, hopefully sooner rather than later.
No, very well said. Yeah, very well said. It does go right back to the hands, and that takes it back to the UK government and beyond to the international community, where really they have a right, and they should be stepping in here, and that's really what we want to see. So, no, well said, and thank you.
Thank you, Claire, for always being available to talk to us. Do value your insights and your input. You have yourself a wonderful day and a week ahead, and God bless.
I will do. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye. And that's where we leave it. That was Claire Bidwell. She is a primary school teacher. She is the co-founder of Let Kashmir Decide, and she's a human rights activist. It's exactly 2 after 10 o'clock, and that means sign of time. A big thank you to our producers, Ziad Milazi Boy and Nasri Naidu. Thank you indeed for putting the show together. Till tomorrow morning at the same time. Please, please, please don't forget the COVID protocols, and also stay safe on the roads. Assalamu alaikum and Khudafiz from me, Julie.